What is the best song from every Zelda game? A very hard question to answer, as every single game soundtrack is a genuine masterpiece. You know, a franchise just hits different when every song makes you tear up a little bit, you know. But as a massive fan of music and Zelda, I feel like it's a perfect topic to talk about for a video, especially when there's such a direct link to music within the gameplay. Except you guys. And no, the orchestra bits don't count. I want to see Link to a flute of his own. Thank you very much. But with that, please know that this is just my personal opinion, okay? You may think different, and that's cool. I'm proud of you for having an opinion. So with that out of the way, here's the best song from every 3D Zelda. No one cares about the 2D ones, right? So let's start with Ocarina of Time. The OG, the big boy, the classic. Hoo boy! There's going to be some divisive opinions on this one, but it's for good reason, because it's home to so many bangers, and is such a special game for so many people. The opening theme alone is one of the most iconic tracks in all of gaming. Even if you haven't played Ocarina of Time, you've probably seen this sequence in some edgy video essay about how magical games used to be. Its influence is inescapable. It's dreamy and melancholic, and just hits you like a truckload of nostalgia, even if you haven't played the game before. But it's not my favourite. Lost Woods is another track, I think just as equally as iconic as the opening. Familiar to anyone that's used the internet before, and just a straight up beautiful track. It's light, it's fun, it's childlike, but it's not my favourite. And I physically couldn't not mention Gerudo Valley. Holy shit, this song just straight up slaps, and I've watched every weird cover of it on YouTube, and I love it. No other track in the series is quite this alive and has this kind of sauce, but it's also not my favourite. No, that deserving title goes to the song which I find most memorable, most inventive, most musical, the shop theme. No, I'm joking, it's a Song of Storms actually. When you play this song to the windmill musician as adult Link, he complains of a young boy he met 7 years earlier who ruined his windmill with a song he'll never forget. And who boy was he right? None of us have forgotten this one, which explains his descent into utter madness, and also why it's on the top spot of this list. The Song of Storms is, in my opinion, the most catchy earworm from the entire series, and it's backed up by such an ingenious arrangement which spins round and round, mirroring the windmill where we learn the song. And for me, this song perfectly translates the feeling of playing Ocarina of Time. It's fun, mysterious, kind of childlike, and hints on the unnerving at times too. Well done, Song of Storms, for slapping so hard. On to the next game. So Majora's Mask is another banger fest, and I couldn't make this list without at least mentioning some worthy contenders, like Song of Healing, a beautifully tragic lullaby which perfectly reflects the journey of despair and grief in this darker game. Also the Clock Town theme, which at first seems kind of like this generic happy kind of town song, has something quite clever behind it in how it changes in the 3 days leading up to the apocalypse. The first day is pretty standard with full instrumentation at a steady 110 beats per minute. The second day we lose that percussion, making it feel a little bit more empty and lonely, maybe hinting at what's to come, but the tempo is raised to 125 beats per minute, making things feel more urgent and kind of worrying. And on the third day that tempo is further picked up to 150 beats a minute, making this once kind of cheery happy song feel frantic and urgent and claustrophobic, which combined with these sinister dissonant chords creates this sickening feel of dread and urgency, which finishes in what's my opinion of the best track in the game, Final Hours. Composed by Koji Konodo and Tori Min, don't think I can pronounce these names. Really sorry, don't mean to offend anyone. This piece is testament to their exceptional ability to be able to infuse a game's soundtrack with profound emotional weight. I remember this track along with these scenes so vividly as a kid that it terrified me to the point I had to put the game down until I was a little bit older. This image is burned into my nightmares, and this track plays such a huge part in translating that feeling of utter doom. As the final hours tick away, what once was a droning warm sound of safety has flipped corrupted into something much darker, which is joined by this haunting melody, and it weaves this kind of like tapestry of melancholy and impending doom, and confirms this feeling that you are no longer safe. And it really mirrors the kind of emotions of the townspeople at the time in their like fear and panic and pure desperation. And the blaring sound of the church bells just like elevate this to a whole nother level. The time ticking down to the very last second. The world you fought so hard to save, now burning to ashes. You weren't quick enough. You weren't strong enough. All these once happy people longing for life and happiness now burn under the moon, doomed to repeat in a cycle that they'll never know about. Sure, you could go back in time to the first day, but you'll still hear the screams. You'll still see your friends burn into the apocalypse. You've met a terrible fate, haven't you? Yeah. So anyway, here's Wind Waker. Okay, so controversially, for me, Wind Waker is my favourite Zelda game. It's the game that got me into the series and got me into gaming as a whole, to be fair. And because of that, I have an intense attachment to every single track on this game. Windfall Island, slaps. Legendary Hero, banger. Departure, makes me cry. Title song, makes me cry. Grandpa's theme makes me feel like a cheeky little rascal, but Grandma's theme also makes me cry. But a song I have to talk about in a little bit more detail is, of course, Dragon Roost Island. One of the most catchy, memorable, fun songs in the entire series. And that bass line? Are you kidding me? My boy Kojo must have been straight up slapping that keyboard. And it adds so much swing and groove and perfectly dances around the melody, and it's just such a joy to listen to. But it hurts me to say, for me, it doesn't take my number one spot. For me, okay? Now that goes to the Great Sea theme. I don't think there's a better song that truly encaptures the Wind Waker, and to be honest, the whole series. This song is the embodiment of adventure. It's brave, it's optimistic, it's so alive. It also pretty much plays on repeat anytime you're sailing, but that's the genius of it. It never gets old for me. It truly captures the feeling of exploration and heading out into this big open world with no idea what awaits you. One of my most memorable moments in all of gaming was setting off from Windfall Island for the first time, heading into this big open sea, only to be met with these low, soaring strings which perfectly echo the up and down of the waves. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before, and it makes me giddy, and I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. It's so empowering and bold and confident. Anytime I'm nervous, I just play this song in my head, and it makes me feel brave enough to call the doctors without needing my mum. Twilight Princess. One of my favourite things about the Zelda series is the companions. They accompany you throughout your adventure and really add to the narrative in an emotional, meaningful way. So, why'd you take them away? These don't count. They are rubbish companions. But anyway, I feel like no other song quite captures the importance and depth of a companion quite like Midna's Lament. Midna is a character that starts out somewhat hard to like. She's arrogant and dismissive, and she straight up manipulates you for the first half of the game into doing her bidding. Sounds like someone's got daddy issues. But as you move through the game, she starts to loosen up and starts to really appreciate what you've done for her, and goes as far to apologise for mistreating you. But at that moment, you're attacked by this absolute douchebag, and you're left permanently trapped in the body of the wolf, and Midna's straight up gonna die. And this once sassy, confident character is now pale and quiet and lifeless, and now you are her only chance at staying alive. So you set off into the rain, desperate to keep her alive, and this song starts to play. Midna's Lament is a hauntingly beautiful piece which perfectly reflects the emotional depth of Twilight Princess. Its melancholic melody and delicate instrumentation create this sense of longing and sadness, and it really enhances which, for me, is the game's most memorable moment. Its melody also ingeniously ties together both Link and Midna's themes, shedding their previous moods of triumph with Link's and mischievousness in Midna's, I think that's how you say it, in favour of this haunting, desperate one. It's such a beautiful track, and it's perfectly suited to such an incredible companion in Midna. Speaking of incredible companions, let's talk about Fi. So Skyward Sword is an interesting one. It gets a lot of undeserved hate, in my opinion, despite it being one of my least favourite Zelda games. But my word, does it have an incredible soundtrack. The orchestral arrangement in every track is staggeringly beautiful. Because of the advancement in technology, Skyward Sword was one of the first games that really started to use live music as opposed to MIDI, which is much more computerized and inorganic sounding. And these live arrangements gave new life to tracks like Zelda's Lullaby, suddenly elevating them to a whole new level. Like, we literally went from this to this. Like, Jesus Christ, the emotion there. It's on a whole different level. And talking of reinventing, they straight up reversed Zelda's Lullaby to create the main theme of Skyward Sword. Which just is one of the most interesting musical ideas I think I've ever heard, and makes this like familiar yet new sounding track, which is not the top spot, but has strongly set its roots in just a absolutely banging Zelda mainline theme. And talking of original tracks in the game, for me, Fi's farewell theme has to take the top spot. I cannot listen to this track without physically getting goosebumps. It's staggeringly beautiful. Fi is a character that gets a lot of undeserved hate, in my opinion, and yes, while those interruptions were pretty annoying, I personally had quite a big attachment to her throughout the game, and it made her goodbye so much more emotional. And if goodbyes weren't hard enough, combining that with her goodbye speech alongside this song, holy quivering mess on the floor, can't move, just an absolute train wreck of emotion. And they managed to write this in a way that so perfectly embodies her character. It's magical and mysterious and has this sort of like quiet awe about it, like looking at the most beautiful view in nature, you know. And for the hate that she does get, no one seems to mention her importance in the games. Fi, more than any other character, has been with us from the very start. Even though she's only present in one game, she will forever be the sword that seals away the darkness. And if you listen carefully, I think you'll still be able to hear her. So Breath of the Wild gets a little bit of backlash for having a somewhat limited soundtrack, but despite that, it's still home to a ton of bangers. The main theme is absolutely breathtaking and is another one that just perfectly encapsulates the feeling of adventure and exploration. It has such a sweeping, majestic melody and is accompanied by such a beautiful piece of piano. The Labyrinth theme doesn't get nearly enough attention. It is so perfect for those zones in the map. It's claustrophobic and it's unnerving and mysterious, and God, it stresses me out, but I love it. Great Plateau, minimal, lonely, perfectly suited for that beginning section of the game. The riding theme, and for me there's something so special about the town themes. Like Tarrytown is so warm and comforting, and I would wish it just played in my head non-stop as I go throughout my day. But I think the top spot has to go to the Rio Village theme. As you walk into the village for the first time, you're met with this lonely piano, which is met by this really comforting, warm clarinet, which is an incredibly underrated instrument, may I add. But as those strings start to swell, this song becomes something way more familiar. Are you kidding me? I know it's pretty well known now, but at the time, this hit me like a freight train made of bricks. Dragon Roost Island makes its return in the most spectacular way I could imagine, and for me was the most emotional moment in the game, and it raises a great talking point about what I love about the series, but in particular the music. Zelda handles this nostalgia, fan service kind of thing in such a subtle but reinventive way, and this song is a perfect example of that. It reinvents this classic song in such a interesting way, but keeps this sort of nostalgia and warmth and familiarity to it, all the while making it new. And it's moments like these that I can literally feel the love that the team put into making these games, and it just makes me so unbelievably happy that a series that I care so deeply about is treated with such love and respect in its production. And God, this is making me an emotional wreck. Tears of the Kingdom, the hot, cool new kid on the block, shares a lot of the same tracks as Breath of the Wild, which made me a little bit sad, I'm not gonna lie, but I understand what they were going for. But I'm not gonna complain, because this game is still home to so many bangers. Kulgera's theme accompanied one of the best boss fights in the series, and it once again just stabbed me in the heart with another incredible rendition of the Dragon Roost Island, but in this huge, monumentally epic way, which just sent shivers down every part of my body. Demon King Ganondorf Phase 2. Incredible. It's terrifying and frantic and so epic. But my top pick for this game is going to be Final Catch. Now I know this is a bit of a safe choice, okay? It's not the most indie pick of them all, but I just don't think you can get away from the fact that this song is a masterpiece, and it just pulls together so many elements of every song we've spoken about today. It perfectly translates the grandness and the adventure of the series with these soaring strings and horns and drums, while this frantic, familiar piano just dances its way perfectly through the instrumentation, all the while interweaving these classic motifs in Zelda's Lullaby and Link's theme in such a seamless, beautiful way. And it's just pure perfection, in my opinion. And now I don't want to spoil anything, because I know not everyone might be at the end of Tears of the Kingdom yet. It's a pretty long game. But the moment in the game where this song plays is possibly one of the greatest moments in all of gaming. And I'm so excited for you to see it if you haven't already. And if you know, you know. Absolute emotional train wreck perfection, and I love it. Now I say it's the best songs in the series, but realistically it's just my favourites, and you almost definitely have a different opinion to me. If you do, please tell me about it. I would genuinely love to have a chat about Zelda and music, two of my favourite things, so let me know what some of your favourite tracks are. Thank you so much if you watched this entire video. I really did go waffling on. I'm scared about how long this video is going to be, but if you enjoyed it, please let me know. I'm quite into this sort of talking about music and video games, and I'd like to do it a little bit more. If you like music related videos, click here. If you like game related videos, click here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.